Welcome to Beyond Hormones, the Business of Wellness, the podcast for hormone and functional medicine providers who want a thriving, predictably profitable practice and maybe a little less stress along the way. Hi, I'm your host, Jody Lane, and I've worked with lots of clinics in marketing, sales, and business development, and I have seen what works and what doesn't. And here's what I believe. Hormone and wellness care should be available to everyone who wants it. And while providers know the medicine, many struggle with the business side of their cash practice. And that's where I come in. See, this podcast is here to share real strategies, real stories, things you can implement in your practice right away. So I am so glad you're here. Come on, let's go. You know how we talk constantly about building a practice that actually pays you, not just one that looks good on the outside while you're quietly stressing about money on the inside. Well, that's exactly what today's conversation is about. I am so thrilled that I had the chance to meet Craig Dacy, who is a financial coach based in Austin, Texas. And what I love about his story is that he didn't just come from finance. No, he spent nearly a decade as a teacher, then went through his own financial transformation, and then found his way into coaching. And now he helps medical practice owners and lots of other small business owners specifically stop running their business paycheck to paycheck and actually start paying themselves what they deserve. Does that sound like something that you want to listen to? I bet you that it does. He uses the Profit First framework. He's writing a book about it specifically for physical therapists, and he has made a way of making money conversations feel less overwhelming and way more doable. And I kind of dug into this a little bit deeper before we even got on the call because I went to his website, I filled out his quiz, which we'll talk more about, and I definitely recommend that you do. And I got a ton of information about my own business that I'm really excited to implement. So if you've ever looked at your revenue and thought, where's all this going? This one's for you. So let me introduce to you Mr. Craig. Hey, how are you?
I'm great, Jody. Thank you. That was a great introduction. I think I'm going to hire you to go with me everywhere. You're my new hype person calling me in.
It is my pleasure. I'll be like the little person on your shoulder, just kind of like following you around, telling you how great you are.
Yes, that's a career right there. You know, that could be a perfectly good business. I'm sure many people would hire somebody just to hype them.
I would love that. All right. Well, I alluded to it. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about the background? So like you started as a classroom teacher and then you had something happen in your financial world. Share that with us so we can kind of get the background of what you're about.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought I was always going to be a teacher. You know, I was in high school. I was in all the classes where you go and work with the younger kids in different schools, and in college, every job I took was in summer camps or after school care, and thinking, okay, this is going to get me in the door for education, help my resume. And then I found myself after in the classroom for 10 years, I taught fourth grade, just feeling like, what's next? You know, I was kind of done with that chapter, and I didn't know where to head to next. And it was looking, I guess, bleak in the sense of, as a teacher, it's either you stay where you are forever, or you can go into
Right.
admin, or you can do those things. And so I really decided, okay, at the core, I love teaching, but does that mean I have to go the traditional route and teach kids in a classroom or teach people in a classroom?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's what led me into, okay, well, you know, on our personal finance side, we had over the years learned how to budget and how to get out of debt. We paid off of all of our debt in about 12 months, paid off a little over $30,000. And just in that matter, talking to people, I was like, you know what? I think I could help people with the financial side. 'Cause that's not something any of us learned. We all kind of fall backwards into it. And before we know it, we aren't saving and we're just overspending. So I decided to take the plunge and start working with people both on the personal finance side and the business finance side. And here I am over a decade later.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's back up because you said
Yeah,
something that I don't know if you saw my face. I went, what? So you paid off $30,000 of debt in a year.
on a
So,
teacher's salary.
on a teacher's salary. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it just keeps getting better and better. So first, my curiosity is piqued. Was there something that happened in your life where you said now is the time to pay attention to this debt, or is it just kind of it happened? You and your wife just figured it out.
You know, there wasn't anything necessarily crazy that happened at that time. It was more just, you know, when we got married, I was the only one who was working. And so I was like, we're kind of scraping by. And then she got a job and we're like, oh, great. Our income just doubled. We're going to be swimming in it. And a couple months later, we realized we're still just barely scraping by again. And so no matter how much we made, we just continued to spend more without even intentionally spending more. We're just always wondering, where's all of our money going? Why do we feel like we never have money? And so that was really what sparked it. I just kind of got really tired of feeling that way
Yeah.
and was like, I guess it's time to take control of it so it stops taking control of me.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing. And so, at what some point we all say to ourselves, I just did this thing. That would be really cool for me to teach other people how to do it. And very few of us take steps towards actually implementing a teaching program. So how did you get from, I know I can help other people to actually going out there and starting to help people?
So I started with, I was researching financial advisors because I had no idea that coaching, money coaching, all those things was even a thing. I was going, okay, well, if I'm going to teach people, I guess I need to learn how to manage investments and what tests I need to take. And then I just stumbled on some people who were already doing it. I saw that, of course, you got the Dave Ramseys out there who are
Right.
projecting it to the masses. And I'm going, well, what would it look like if I sat with people and worked with them on the behavior side? Because that's what I care most about is how do we
Mhm.
change our behavior with money? How do we get to a place where we enjoy money and our money's going to where we really want it to go and not just being
Right.
spent at Taco Bell 10 times a month without us even realizing it. So I took a plunge in thinking back to that time where I started this up and then eventually quit my job. I was like, was that me? Did I really do that? That feels so weird. I guess blind, ignorant faith kind of took me through it, which I'm so glad it did.
My mother used to always have a saying. She said, "Be afraid and do it anyway." And I feel like it should be an every entrepreneur should
Mm,
get a T-shirt the moment that they file their LLC that says, "Be afraid and do it anyway," because there is no perfect circumstance, no perfect path.
mm,
So, first of all, congratulations for doing that. That's amazing. You talked about behavior with finances.
mm.
Um, how is mindset kind of weaved into all of that as well when it comes to financial?
Oh, I mean, I feel like it's at the core. I always say money is emotional. It's not, we try to separate ourselves from it, but it truly is our household, our kids, our dreams, our passions, everything is kind of comes back down to finances. And so it really is mindset. If we go back to, if you were to sit down in the therapist chair and look at your history and how you're raised and just even how your parents handled money and how they interacted, or were they stressed all the time about finances? Were they always telling you we don't have enough money to go do this or this? That carries into us. And so there's just this ingrained feeling that I've found so many people have, which is I'm just not good with money. That's what I've heard. When I was teaching fourth grade, I remember parents would, if I was meeting with a parent for a parent teacher conference about a kid who was struggling in math, one of the parents would say, yeah, they got it from me. I'm just not a math person, as if it's this genetic contagious thing.
So
I
funny.
believe that's a mindset thing. It's, we can
Yeah.
all be good at money. We can all be good at it. Just, it's a skill we learn. It's not anything we're born with.
Yeah. So you pointed out, I was thinking about this question and then you said it. We have this emotional attachment to
Hmm.
money. So I would imagine even if people desperately think they need you, there is a barrier to getting started because confronting those issues, those mindsets, those behaviors that you've gotten comfortable with has got to be hard. And so, what do you do to kind of like warm that up? Especially like I mentioned I did the quiz, which was awesome, started getting me thinking already. So, is that how you enter people in, or like, how do you open that conversation?
Yeah, so I like to just lower the barrier and try and just ease in and let people know, number one, that we're all struggling, like especially business owners. Uh, you could probably look at 10 different business owners standing there, and nine of them are worried about money or are stressing out. And so it can feel isolating. It can feel like we're the only ones, and we're definitely not. And so to me, it's just bridging that gap that this doesn't have to be this big, scary, vulnerable thing, while also acknowledging that it is kind of a big, scary, vulnerable thing. So we like to bridge people in. I'm big on creating content and creating different things that when somebody's maybe not ready to jump on a call, they at least can start engaging and priming the pumps. Or I'm thrilled when people watch content or engage in content and then can go do it themselves without ever having to hire us too. So that is really what we're all about, is just getting people into it and getting comfortable with it so that when they do get on a call with us and are ready to take that jump and make the big change, that it's not too scary anymore. That maybe it's just scary
Yeah.
enough, like you said, to do it anyway.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I got that from you the first time we met, that your intention is to solve people's problems. It doesn't matter whether you do that with free content, you do that through coaching, you do that through the book that you're writing. Like, as long as people get what they came for, you're happy. So how did you fall into physical therapists? Because that's become sort of a niche for you.
It has.
And, how did that evolve, and why do you like working with them?
Yes. So, like I was talking about, I started with personal finances. We, over time, found that they're so deeply connected to businesses that we now primarily work with business owners on both, but mostly on their business finances. And to get into physical therapists, it was one of my very first clients just happened to be a physical therapy practice. And so we found that they had so many challenges with submitting notes to insurance and getting those done in time and waiting for reimbursements to come in. We saw struggles with short-term engagements with clients, whereas, a general practitioner, you might have a patient for over a decade or even their whole life, where a mental health therapist, it might be 5 years, and for a
Right.
PT it's usually 4 to 8 weeks is how long they have a patient. And so it's these short term, constantly having to get new people in. And so we started solving that problem. They passed us on to a PT friend, and then we started working with more and more. And even though I don't have a physical therapy background, we kind of learned the business, and then that carried into wellness program clinics and OTs and speech therapists, all different types, who have adjacent industries but still deal with a lot of the same struggles financially.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's funny. I didn't have a background in hormones when I started working with the hormone clinic. And I've said multiple times, I think that not having that experience in medical actually enabled me to be more successful, because there wasn't all these preconceived notions that you had about the way the medical industry works. And I bet that was the same for you. Do you think so?
I think so. I think, yeah, you're exactly right. I think sometimes we're so close to the industry and to the way things are done, or so close to the
Yeah.
problem. I tell people all the time, I have the luxury of asking the stupid, obvious questions, because I'm coming in, and sometimes I tell my clients, like, sometimes I'm gonna ask questions that you're like, seriously, that seems so obvious. But a lot of times we find insight because I'm, in a way, unintentionally challenging the status quo by asking, okay, can we not try doing it a different way? Even though that's the way it's always been done, can we maybe, what about this or this? And so I think your point's right. Yeah, being on the outside does have its advantages, and it's kind of a superpower.
Yeah, that's very cool. So when I did the quiz, one of the questions you asked just stopped me in my tracks. And I'm trying to remember the exact question, but basically it was like, who are you? What is your role in the business? And you had, I'm a small business owner, and another option was CEO of your own
Mm.
business, which technically could be the same thing. But I'm curious for you to explain why the distinction between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I look at the two different ones as a small business owner, is somebody who owns the business but is also still stuck working in the business, whereas a CEO owns the business but also their main role is the business. So not
Hmm.
working with patients, but being able to maybe work with some patients, but their main role is, how do I drive growth? How do we get to more people? How do we gain exposure? How do we expand and grow to that next level? So those are the two differences, while minor. But a lot of people get stuck in that small business owner where they really do have a hard time pulling themselves out of the day to day.
It's kind of why it intrigued me, because I imagined, and I don't know your philosophy, but I imagined that you want them to get to that CEO role. That in order for them to be successful, they cannot have a full-time job taking care of patients and a full-time job strategizing how the business is going to grow. And is that correct, or am I off?
That's correct, with the caveat that if they want to be the CEO, and so,
Oh
uh,
yeah, that's true.
they could go hire somebody to manage
True,
the big
true.
picture stuff, but I don't want them to be stuck doing the work. And that's usually what
Yeah.
we find is, they're like, I don't have time to do that because I have to work with X number of patients this week, and they just don't know how to step out of that. And I find that most people want to do some patient work. I will always have clients, at least a small roster of clients for myself, because I want to stay engaged in the practice and keep the chops up. But it's that feeling stuck, and I think most people do want to hit that CEO role. But if we find people who are like, I hate that, I don't want to think about that, I just want to do this other stuff, then we want to get them to a place where they can hire a CEO, and that's still going to be the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, my exact experience it proves that to be true. So the clinic that I went to work for in Orlando, and if anyone's listening to the podcast, they know I talk about this all the time. I came on board as the COO, and that gave the provider, the owner, the ability to see patients Monday through Friday and only have to go to a couple of meetings a week to find out what I was doing, to get approvals, to make sure that I was, following whatever his vision was. But essentially, he could just work for his own business. We had a joke that I worked for him from 5 until 9, and he worked for me from 9 to 5. But it was a great scenario because he got to
Mhm.
grow the business without having to have two different jobs. And so I imagine that that's what you mean by that. So, you work with physical therapists, I work with hormone clinic owners. It's basically the same thing.
Mhm,
Can
it
you
is.
walk me through a little bit what you do with a client, so that if anyone's listening and thinking, wow, I have an issue with this, like what would it be like to work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing we do is we're believers. There's every business needs two money systems. The one that most of us know about is the accounting system, which is, bookkeeping and filing your taxes, all those things. What most practices are missing and clinics are missing is a money management system. And that's how we actually handle the money on the day to day. You can pull an accounting spreadsheet, which let's all be honest, none of us are looking at those anyway. But if we did, it's going to show us what happened, 6 weeks ago. It's hard to make a decision of how do I make payroll this week or next week, or can we afford to order some new supplies, all these things that are in the day to day. That's what a money management system comes in. It's how we can make real time decisions, save for the future, plan our growth. And then like I said, it's behavior based. So when we're helping somebody build that, we don't worry about the spreadsheets. We just help them put it in their bank account. So it's always on their phone. Having multiple accounts will always give them a pulse on where they stand financially.
Okay. Do you do anything with them with like income projections so that they have a vision of where they're going financially to help with that day-to-day decision?
100%. Yep. So trying to figure out where they're going. And we always start with the business owner first. And it's saying, are you paying yourself? Are you taking home a paycheck? And if you are you taking it consistently? Is it the same amount? Are you skipping your paycheck? Most people are skipping their paycheck, or if there's a lot of money, they'll take more. And if there's not much, they'll take a little bit. So let's start with you. What do we need to get your paycheck to? And then we go backwards and say, if we're going to pay you $120,000 a year. What does the business need to make so that it can afford to pay you that, and start working backwards and getting them into that place where we can build it that way? And what
Right.
point can you hire, and what point can you move to a second location, so that you're doing all these things in a financially smart and healthy, proactive way?
I absolutely love that. So in our business plan workshop that we do, one of our deliverables is a proposed profit and loss statement. And I think we're
Mm,
kind of saying the same thing. Like
yeah.
in order for a business, that doesn't matter what kind of business you have, to be successful, if you just project out income, then you may know how much money you're bringing in, but you don't know how much money you're actually going to be able to earn yourself.
Yes.
You could be very busy and not profitable, and you don't know how you can grow, use that net profit to actually put back into the business to grow. So that is so important. What do you do with, and this may be hard to answer without a lot of circumstance around it, but like we get a lot of clients that come to us and they are leaving a job that they
Mhm.
hate, and they're opening a clinic to start doing cash pay hormone, wellness. And so they have no money. They have no money coming in, and they have to replace what they're earning over here in the new business. So
Mhm.
how do you get somebody in, going there and like that kind of a bridge model?
Yeah, absolutely. So if they've come to us and if they've come to us before they've made the jump, I'll say,
Okay.
we're big on let's build up what I would call a cash runway. That's what I did whenever
Hmm.
I was starting my practice, my business. I was teaching for a year, and on the side, everything I was making from the business, I was stashing as much as I could so that I could have a cash cushion to get me through 6 to 12 months of business until I could ramp up revenue. So
Right.
that's priority one. But most of the time, if they're coming to us, they've already made the transition, and so it's balancing. It's looking and saying what percentage can we pay you, because we need to make sure it's done. If the business just can't afford to pay them completely, then they might need to supplement it elsewhere. Are there other ways to supplement it? Can we reduce expenses on their personal side to offset? It's all temporary. So you've made this jump. So do we need to pull back lifestyle a bit for 6 months or so until you can get your paychecks coming in where you want it? And so we call it a personal finance snapshot. We jump in and say, what do they need to be bringing home reverse engineer it like I was talking about. And if the business
Right.
just isn't there yet, then we got to start solving that problem somehow. And sometimes it's a side job, and that's not the end of the world. It's not ideal, but uh, not doing that might be the difference between the business making it or you being able to pay all your expenses on the personal side.
Hey everyone, whether this is your first episode of Beyond Hormones or you've been listening for a really long time, I hope that you know how much I truly care about helping clinic owners build businesses that feel more organized, more profitable, and much less stressful. So, if you don't mind, I want to interrupt our current episode for just a quick minute and talk about a responsibility that I know many clinic owners like you carry every single day. All right, how often do you find yourself checking whether a lead was called back, or a patient question was followed up on, or an important task for the growth of the clinic actually happened? And look, I get it. While you may not be the person directly responsible for performing every one of those tasks, at the end of the day, if something gets missed, you know it still becomes your problem. That's why clinic owners often feel obligated to keep checking to make sure that doesn't happen. But that just means more follow-up with your staff, more manual checks and balances, and more worry about whether a sticky note task was overlooked in the mess. Look, I lived that inside my own clinic, and I know exactly how mentally exhausting that becomes. That's why back then we created our own system to take care of all of that, and we helped reduce our manual check-ins and gave us greater visibility to what needed to be done. And now we have made that solution available to you. It's called Practice Automation System, and it's built to take all of those repeatable loose ends and follow-up notes that might eventually become a forgotten sticky note or some flagged email and turn them into useful, trackable workflows. There's staff tasks that can be created and assigned automatically. Follow-up communications are scheduled based on pipelines and nurture sequences. Contacts can move into correct follow-up processes without the team needing to personally remember every detail. That leaves you free to lead the clinic without constantly worrying about what has fallen through the cracks. You should not have to personally review every step just to feel confident it happened. And because we're clinic people just like you, we already built all the automations, so there's no setup for you. All you have to do is use it. To see a demonstration of Practice Automation System, head on over to acceleratedmedicalpractices.com/demo. Now, let's get back to the episode. Yeah, it's unfortunate that you said that oftentimes you get people after they've already made the jump, because if they come to you before they make the jump, then they create a plan. Because one of the things that I see a lot is people always think about, okay, I know how much I need to make, but they don't think about what do I need funding for in order to grow the business. Like you need software, you need marketing, you need a
Mhm.
website, you need a rent, you need an EMR. So there's things that you need in order to run the business that you have to pay, fixed expenses that you have to pay whether you have revenue coming in or not. And I think that's where people get in a lot of trouble.
You're 100% right. Especially if they were maybe working for somebody else in a clinic and they were taking a percentage or they're in some kind of commission base. And then they're looking down and go, well, what if I start my own thing and I get to keep all the money? You soon find out you don't get to keep all the money. A lot of it's going,
Right.
you got your self-employment tax or your LLC, whatever. If you're on S corp, it's your own payroll tax, but taxes are higher when you're doing it. So there's all these things that come into play that maybe we don't know on the front side until we get there and realize, yikes, yeah, there's not as much left over as I thought there would be for me to take home.
Well, describe to me kind of like your favorite client. So somebody calls you and they have all the right circumstances and the right mindset. What does that look like to you?
Yeah, I always say people who are ready for change. And so what we're
Mm,
doing is something completely different than they've ever done. And so you have to just be ready for that, open to something new. And usually they are. The ones who we love working with, they've been struggling for so long. They're like, I just whatever it is, whatever it takes, we want to do that. So that's really important to us. We want to make sure that we have a connection. I have a team of coaches, and I always tell them I want you to look at your calendar and be like, yes, I get to, Jody's today. I can't wait
Yeah.
to hear about X, Y, or Z. So that's key. Taking action. One big thing when I'm on a call too, I'm listening for is what I call opportunities over excuses. And so
Mm.
I know life can happen to us, but I just find that if we're saying this other thing is the reason that I'm here, or this factor or whatever factor, that puts up a wall, and it's really hard to move forward until we can just say, even if I had a business partner who left me in a lurch and lost me a ton of money, uh, that happened to you. You couldn't help it, but it's still in our lap. It's still our responsibility to figure out a way around it and to push forward. And so those are two really important things. But yeah, above all, we just want to we like people, and we want to enjoy getting on a call with them.
I get that. That's the second t-shirt I'm making for all entrepreneurs. So when they first start, it's be afraid and do it anyway. And
Yeah,
then after they've been doing it for about 6 months, it's opportunities over excuses. I am totally going to steal that
go
because
for it.
that is so true. We can't stop the failures that have happened to us. We can't stop the things that occur without our control. But we can do is we can spin it in a way that works for us. And so I absolutely love that mantra, opportunity
Yeah.
for excuses. Um, so we're talking a lot about people that are in trouble or people that are brand new and need to like find the income.
Mm.
But what about those practitioners that have been doing this for a while and they feel like they've hit a ceiling? They may not be practicing financial things correctly. They may not have all the right plans in place. How do you guys support people who are ready to get to the next level?
Yeah, that's great. A great question. That's honestly who most of our clientele is. We have a
Okay.
few who are trying to put out the fires, or who are in those really dire situations, but most clients are coming to us because they're making pretty good money. They've got revenue coming in. Maybe they have a few team members or clinicians working under them, but they're, like we were talking about, stuck in the day to day, don't are really having a hard time making that transition, or they're finding that as they add more zeros to their revenue, that doesn't mean their paycheck isn't getting any more. That's just they're expanding their spending along the way, and so it's just they're ready to optimize everything and get to that next level. And like you were talking about, they've hit that ceiling, and once we have the finances organized in a way and we can be proactive about it, then they can really push through and move forward and actually take home some money, and which is what we really want.
What percentage of success do you think simply comes from looking at the numbers?
Oh, I mean, it'll be a made up percentage, but I would say
Yeah.
probably like 99% if you're just have a good pulse. And I guess not just looking at them, but making a plan with them. And again, being proactive instead of our natural tendency is reactive. We look at the bank account again and it's, money's tight. What are we going to do? Or money's great. Yeah, bonuses for everybody. That's just reacting. There's no plan. Or, oh, we got a little extra cash. I'm going to go throw a bunch on that credit card to try and bring the balance down. And then next week we're charging more because there's no money in the account. So it's just this
Right.
constant reaction cycle.
That's so cool. So, again, for people who listen to me, I talk about predictable profit all the time. I wrote a book about it, that you can have predictable profit in your hormone clinic. And that is all it is. It's knowing what your goals are, looking at what actually happened, and then making a plan to either do
Yes.
better or do more of what worked. That's really all you need to do in business is just be real. And so many of us are afraid to sit down and look at the metrics, whether it's sales numbers or attrition numbers or conversion numbers or financial. We're just afraid to look at them.
Yeah, it's that emotional piece. If I don't look, it doesn't exist. It's my same tendency too. When I'm stressed about the finances or things feel tight, I just find myself not even wanting to look at the
Yeah.
credit card balance that I need to go pay off because I'm worried. There's just a deep pit in my stomach of, oh, what if there's not enough to pay it down? And so I don't even open it, and that's our tendency, and I have to fight that because it's.
Yeah.
But that's where we all are.
So, since business owners are people, I would imagine that this work you do for their business sometimes spills over to their personal finances as well. How often does that happen?
It happens quite often, and so I would say almost every client we have to get into that little conversation to a point of what do they need on the personal side? Do they have a lot of times they have personal expenses mixed with the business expenses, so it's separating that. But we have coaches who work with profit, and then we have another coach who does personal finance. And so a lot of our business owners are doing both simultaneously. So they're working on their business here, and then their spouse is with them working on the personal finances, getting that organized, because they do go hand in hand. If you're struggling on the personal side, you're going to find that you're constantly dipping into that business, draining draining cash out of it, and then it's struggling. And if the business is struggling, then it can't pay you what you need on the personal side, and so it's going to struggle. So it's just this push pull that we are big believers in. We got to find that balance to keep them working together and supporting each other.
Yeah. So, what would be the typical time frame that you work with a business to get them to some sort of success? Or, I mean, if you even can answer that question, that might be too hard.
No, I can. Yeah. So
Okay.
we do at least 6 months with every client
Okay.
is our starting goal. Now, I'm a believer that it never ends, and so we have clients who've been with us for years, and then but our job really is let's get you set up, let's get you equipped, let's get you confident and get clarity, so that after 6 months, if you decide I'm going to go ahead and go it alone, you at least have something built in. But we know the business is always changing, and the problems that you face when you're at 200,000 are different than at 500,000 and different than at 1 million. And so having a voice speak into it and really just guide you, even if it's less frequent meetings,
Yeah.
that's what usually ends up happening after that 6 month mark.
So, you're writing a book,
I
right?
am.
Yep. So,
Yes.
tell us about the book.
Yes. So Profit First is the system that we teach, and it's based on a best-selling book by Mike Michalowicz. Now, Mike wrote it for all industries, and it's how to manage your finances using basically business envelope system, multiple bank accounts, prioritizing profit, prioritizing the owner. Now, he wrote it again to all, and so over the years, different people have been coming in and writing derivatives to different target markets, and so I know the physical therapy space pretty well, so I decided I'm going to write the one for physical therapists. So, Profit First for physical therapists. I'm in the works of writing, and it should be launching probably at the very beginning of 2027.
Awesome. Okay. Well, will you promise to come back at the beginning of
Oh,
2027 and talk about the book?
I will. I would love to. That would be so fantastic.
So very, very cool. So, if people want to work with you or find out more about how they can work with you, what would you recommend that they do?
So you were talking about the quiz. So I think
Mhm.
that's a great starting point. So if you go to just dacycoaching.com, and I'll give you links and everything, you can go there. There'll be a pop-up that'll send you to our quiz. You can take that. It's completely free, and it's going to give you, like you were talking about, a report. And there's some video tutorials and just basically saying, here's your business. You'll answer a few questions, and here's what we recommend for what percentage should be going to profit. Should you be taking home? Should be going to expenses? Just to give you a good launching point. And then beyond that, we have coaches who are always ready to help on the one-on-one. And so on our site too, if you just want to jump right in and meet up with somebody, we have a free call there too. You can just click a button and get connected.
And your website's awesome. I mean, I'm a website snob. I will immediately pour my nose on someone's website if it's not easy to navigate, clear what you do, and isn't attractive. And your website is really easy to figure out where to go, how to find what you
Good.
want. So I think that's a perfect place to go. And I will definitely put a link in the show notes to make sure that people can find, your content, schedule a call, and obviously do the quiz. Guys, I'm telling you, the quiz, I just, in the first 5 pages of reading the guide, I was like blown away at some of the information that I saw. So I really, really appreciate it. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up, and then before we go, I do something at the end of every call that I completely stole, just like I'm stealing your mantra. I stole this from the Diary of a CEO, which is my favorite podcast, and that is I've asked my last guest to ask a question, and they don't know who you are, so I'm going to ask you their question, and the
Okay.
question that they asked was, if you had to pick a theme song that represents your life, what would it be?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question. What's funny is that's when I was doing interviews for employees, my wife was like, ask them like what their the best song ever, or she phrased it as if somebody was hearing for the first time, what song would you show them? And I was like, I don't know. I'm a
That's
90s
cool.
kid. In a 90s top 40s band, so I have to go 90s. Motown Philly by Boys to Men was always
Yes.
one of my go-tos. It just puts me in a good mood. I feel like I could bop to that while I'm walking or driving anywhere.
I have it on multiple playlists. Definitely a great song. So wait, you said you're in a 90s cover band?
I am, yes, in the 90s, all top 40s. It's we dress the dress and just have a good time.
I
It's fun.
love it. What's it called?
We're called Zoo Dust. So out here in Austin, Texas.
Okay. Well, I'm so mad that I didn't know that because I was literally 20 minutes from Austin yesterday. I was in
Oh,
Buda, Texas. No, I was not
yes.
in Buda. I take that back. I was not in Buda. That was a different client. I was in Lumberton, Texas. And if I would have known, I would have stayed an extra day and try to come see your band. Come over the weekend.
Well, come on down. Yeah, next time you're in town. Well,
That's so
it's
cool.
fun.
Well, Craig, thank you so much. You've been amazing. Thank you for all the knowledge that you share with everybody today. And if anyone's listening and you're looking at your bank account and you're thinking to yourself, I'm not quite sure I want to look at this today, then get with Craig and his team so that you get some clarity on your finances and actually, make the money that you deserve from all the hard work that you do.
Yes. Thank you, Jody, for having me. This was so much fun.
It is my pleasure. All right. See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Beyond Hormones, the business of wellness. I hope that you're walking away with fresh ideas and real strategies you can use to grow your practice with profit and purpose. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow the show so you never miss a conversation. And if something you heard today resonated with you, do me a favor, share this episode with a friend or a colleague. It's one of the best ways you can support the show, and it might be exactly what they need to hear right now. If you want even more tools and support, go ahead and head over to acceleratedmedicalpractices.com. Until next time, keep doing the work that matters. Your patients need you, and I am cheering you along every step of the way.